Good afternoon, Year 8 and Year 8 parents. It's Mrs. Jones here, Deputy Head Teacher at Corfe School. I'd just like to speak to you probably for about 15 minutes to provide you with some information about September and how things are going to be slightly different from what they would normally be in September for our students. But first of all, I'd just like to reiterate on behalf of all of the staff at Corfe School that we are really looking forward to meeting you soon. And if you haven't already had a chance to look at the welcome videos from the new Year 9 form tutors that were sent to you today, please have a look, and they should be uploaded to our website shortly as well. So first of all, I'd just like to remind all of you when you are due to return to school. And for Year 9 students, that would be Monday the 7th of September. So the staff have two training days on Thursday the 3rd and Friday the 4th of September. And then Year 9 students should be coming into school at 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock for your welcome morning on Monday the 7th of September. And then on Tuesday the 8th of September, we will be having all year groups back for a normal day in school, with the exception of the first couple of hours where people will be in their tutor groups because actually there's quite a lot to sort out, and also everyone will be given a year group assembly to explain, as I said, how things are going to be slightly different this year. So on Monday the 7th of September, first of all, if you can come in through main reception on just that day, and then you will be directed to the main hall, and we will put you in your tutor groups, and you will have a short introductory assembly by myself, Mr. Sankey, the heads of house and the student support managers, before we take you into your form rooms and you get to complete some really exciting and challenging house activities and getting to know your activities with your tutor and the new people in your tutor group, some of whom you won't have met before. If you can bring a snack and a drink with you as well, that would be great, because you will be having a break midway through the morning. And other activities that you'll be completing will be a short tour, locker allocation, lanyards and badges, and I'll speak more about those shortly. You will also be given hard copies of your timetables, which will be emailed to you beforehand anyway, and your form tutor will spend time talking about those with you when you come into school properly on Tuesday the 8th of September. Now, our objectives, firstly, with regard to the changes that we are making for September for our students, is that we are aiming to keep all members of the Corfe School community and their families safe. We need clearly to ensure that we follow the government guidance, but at the same time as having to implement all of these changes, we want to maintain our high expectations to enable every single student to learn to the max in all of their lessons in a supportive learning environment. So, one of the first changes, which may or may not impact on you, is how you travel to and from school. So our advice as a school is, if you can walk or cycle to school, that would be absolutely brilliant. We do have right outside of your entrance, and I'll speak to you about your entrance shortly, a really large cycle rack for bikes, which you can place in there and they will be secure throughout the day. But having said that, we do accept clearly that some people have to travel by car, some on public transport, some on school transport. If you are travelling with people who are outside of your family in the same car, then the government advice is that you keep the window open, you sit side by side, and you wear a face mask if possible. And as of probably about 3-4 weeks ago, the government guidance, if you are using public transport, changed. And we do know that a number of our students have to catch public transport on the way to and from school, and the guidance is that you must wear a face mask. The same rule applies for school transport. We have 2 school buses, and if you are coming either from Early or Sturminster Marshall, you must make sure you wear a face mask. If you have to wear a face mask on the way to and from school, we would like to advise, if possible, that you wear one that you can reuse, just because it's more environmentally friendly. But the key thing that you need to remember really is that you have to bring 2 with you. So whether you use a disposable one or wear a reusable one, you must bring 2, one for the journey to school and one for the journey from school. If you are wearing a reusable mask, you must seal the first mask in a plastic bag and place it inside your school bag, where it must stay throughout the school day in your locker. And you need to take real care when you're taking off a mask to not touch the front of it. You have to take it off by using the ties, roll it up and then secure it with one of the ties. But it's really important that that first mask, if it's a reusable one, is kept in a sealed plastic bag inside your school bag, inside your locker. And then, of course, you wear your second clean mask for your return journey home. If you choose to wear a disposable mask, we will provide closed bins, that's bins with lids on, for you before you enter the school building. And again, you just need to take real care when taking off the mask, making sure that you roll it up, secure it by the ties, and then place it in the lidded bin. Under no circumstances must those disposable masks be brought into school, please. The other thing that you may have heard on the news is that there's a lot of talk about bubbles. And what this means for us as a secondary school or an upper school is that we have to group our students into year group bubbles. So that means the whole of year 9 will be in one bubble, the same with year 10, the same with year 11, and the same with the sixth form. So years 12 and 13 will be mixed together because they have some of their lessons together. And it means that we will have to allocate each year group into a specific zone or area of the school. And basically, students will not be allowed to mix. That should say year 9 there, counted as a bubble. You won't be allowed to mix with other year groups, unfortunately. And it does mean that you will have separate catering facilities, that the majority of your lessons will take place in one area of the school. You will have specified entrances and exits to the school, your own toilets, and your own inside and outside social spaces. And the reason for this really is to minimise any potential risk of infection. Now, I do totally understand that these photographs, if you've not been up to the school ever or recently, will not make an awful lot of sense for you, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to kind of refer to this assembly a bit nearer the time in September when you're due to come up. But every student will be starting school at the normal time, which for us is 8:40 is when we start period 1, and that's when all students are expected to be in their lesson and sat down before the teacher arrives. So we ask that students are on site for about 8:30, and every year group or every bubble will be allocated 2 entrances, one at the front of the school and one at the back of the school. So for year 9, and we will show you where these entrances are when you come in on your first day. So remember, when you come in for your welcome morning on Monday, the 7th of September, you're all going to come in main reception. And then as part of your time with your form tutor, they will show you where all of the different entrances are and where you're expected to eat, where the toilets are, etc. So don't worry if what I'm saying to you now isn't making an awful lot of sense. So you will come in the sports hall entrance, which is your face in the school, is right over on the right hand side, just before the biggest, tallest part of the school by the car park. And then your rear entrance will be just where the field is. So if you're coming in the back gate by the back car park, if you head across the field and as you're looking at the school from the back, it will be on the left hand side. That's the bottom of the Math Street. But again, we'll show you where all of that is when you come in on Monday the 7th. The key thing will be that you need to follow the signs, and slightly differently from the start of the day. The expectation is, because everybody at the end, when the bell goes, at the end of the day, in theory, would be leaving the site at the same time, we are going to stagger the end of the day slightly. So what that looks like for you as new Year 9 students will mean that on Monday, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you will be finishing school at 3 o'clock, which is 5 minutes earlier than the rest of the school. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, you will be finishing at 2:40. Again, that's 5 minutes before the rest of the school. And as I said, that's really just to enable everybody to safely leave the site without coming into contact with other year groups. So your Year 9 zone is going to be along Math Street. So as you come in to the main entrance on Monday the 7th, if you look straight down the hallway, that top picture shows you the view, and that is Math Street all the way down there with the classrooms on the right to the bottom of that really long corridor. And actually you're really lucky because this is a really nice part of the school. These are our newest classrooms and they're the biggest. So your zone will be separated from other zones or areas. And you might find that some of these areas are separated by barriers to prevent students from walking accidentally between the zones. Most lessons will be in the maths classroom, so the chances of you getting lost this year are minimised, you'll be pleased to hear. And actually your teachers will move to you. So you may be moving between the different maths classrooms and your teachers will be moving to you, but more often than not, you're going to be based in that specific area. On the odd occasion, however, you might find that your subject might need to access a specialist room, for example, a science lab, and therefore you will be timetabled in a room in your zone. Your teacher will come and collect you and then escort you to your specialist classroom, which may mean that you will need to walk through a different zone, and that's why you need to be escorted, because you will need to maintain social distancing all the way into that specialist room. Unfortunately, we won't be able to run house assemblies from September in the way that we would normally, because clearly we can't have mixtures of year groups all in the hall at the same time. But the house system at Corfe Hills is really, really important to us. So therefore, we will be running virtual house assemblies every other week. So your head of house will be leading a house assembly, but you will be listening to that in your form rooms. Therefore, year group assemblies will be occurring every other week, and they will take place in the main hall. Your catering area will be in the main hall. So we will be developing a pod and moving a pod into the main hall so that actually you can still buy hot and cold food at break and lunchtime, as well as if you prefer bringing in your own food such as sandwiches, that's absolutely fine too. You will have an inside social space if it's wet, that will be the main hall and some of the allocated classrooms down in the maths corridor, and an outside social space. So if you can see, looking at that bottom picture, the math street, as we call it, is covered, but it is semi outside. So that'll be part of your outside area, and there are benches along the wall, as you can see, and also a third of the large field that we have out of the back of the school will also be allocated specifically to year 9, and that will be sectioned off so that you can't come into contact with other year groups. The toilets that will be allocated for you only will be in the math street and in the drama, just outside the drama room. But as I said, it's really important that you stay in your own zone, again, to minimise the risk of any potential for cross-infection. Now, this map probably won't make an awful lot of sense to you, and you may not even be able to see it very clearly at the moment. But essentially, if you look at that orange coloured in bit, that's your part, that's your zone for your bubble. So you've got the whole of Math Street, you've got the main hall, and you've got part of the field, basically. So as I said, it's a really nice part of the school, and it means that actually you're kind of all in your own area, and you've got some of the largest classrooms as well. Now, year 8, it's really, really important that you are very, very well prepared for September. We have really high expectations of all of our students, and they always bring every single item on this list to every single lesson. It is checked. We don't lend out equipment. We won't be allowed to lend out any equipment from September, and you won't be allowed, unfortunately, to borrow any equipment off any other student. So therefore, please make sure that you come into school with a pencil case that's jam-packed full of all of those stationery items on that list, because as I said, you won't be allowed to borrow either from us or from other students. And again, that's not just us being mean, it's because we don't want for there to be any potential for cross-infection between students. Make sure you're prepared. We will issue all of you with a mini whiteboard and a pen, which you'll need to bring with you, but a mini whiteboard, because that means that you can show your teacher your work and they can give you some feedback in your lessons without them actually having to come very close to you, which again is very important. Hygiene and cleaning. I would like to assure you and your parents that all rooms and toilets will be regularly cleaned. And for the specialist rooms, that means that they will be cleaned every single lesson, both at the start of the lesson, with anti-bac wipes, and at the end of the lesson, because clearly these rooms might be used by different year groups. So those need to be our priority areas in terms of cleaning. You will be expected to sanitize your hand on entry to the school site and at the start and end of every single lesson. By all means, bring your own if you prefer, because it will save you from queuing up potentially. But again, it's very important to remember to wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds. And if you need to sneeze using a tissue, you need to catch it, bin it, kill it, put it in a bin. And if you need to cough or sneeze, you must do so into the crook of your arm, like that, rather than into your hands. And this is the bit I think probably most people find really challenging, is that you should avoid touching your face. I'm going to explain to you about how the rules with regard to social distancing have changed recently, because we clearly want everyone back in school full-time from September, and that is the government's aim. We are advising, and the government is advising, that students should aim to keep at least 1 metre away from other students where possible. Now, this may not be possible in all lessons. And the reason for that is, if you can imagine that you're in a class of 28, if we had to put 1 metre distance between all of you and the desks, then we wouldn't be able to fit you all in a classroom. So therefore, we have to make sure that you're all facing the front. We have to make sure that actually you're not allowed to leave your seat, that you're not allowed to go anywhere near the teacher, etc. So we do put in place other things to minimise any potential risk there. But where possible, you should aim to keep 1 metre away from other students. It is slightly different when it comes to teachers and other adults in the school, and you must keep away by 2 metres from all staff at all times. And the reason behind that is because the staff are moving between the different bubbles. So for example, I teach English, I might be teaching Year 9 period 1, and then I will move from the Year 9 zone into the Year 11 zone for period 2. So I am mixing with lots of different students from different bubbles. So therefore it's really important that you keep that 2 metre distance from all staff, and they will keep 2 metres from you as well. You've probably heard this before, but again, this is very important. If you develop any symptoms which could be coronavirus symptoms, such as a new persistent cough, a raised temperature, change or loss of smell or taste, then you must stay at home and ideally self-isolate for 7 days. But your parents should arrange a test as quickly as possible, because what that means is if your test comes back negative, then you don't have to stay at home for 7 days and you can get straight back into school. If a member of your household has symptoms, the advice is that you must stay at home and self-isolate for 14 days. But again, if your household member can have a test quickly and that comes back negative, then you will be able to return to school. If any student develops symptoms whilst they're in school, we have a protocol that's been put in place for that. And each of the different zones has its own allocated medical room with a window, and the student will be escorted there by a first aider wearing full PPE and placed in there, and the parents will be contacted to come and fetch them, or you, hopefully not, immediately. So that's a way that we are going to ensure that we minimise the risk of infection. I'm nearly there, and I'm just going to talk to you for a couple of minutes about our high expectations. And we're really proud of our students at Caulfield School for always doing the right thing. And actually, it's probably even more important now that everybody in every year group follows instructions, because ultimately we're here to help, support and protect each other, and we want to keep everybody safe. From September, our uniform expectations are as normal. You may remember in my previous presentation, I spoke to you briefly about the fact that some people call us quite strict on uniform, and we are. We're really proud of the way our students present themselves really, really smartly. And you will be allocated a house lanyard when you come into school on the Monday the 7th. So if you're in Sandbanks like me, that's a yellow lanyard. Lulworth is a green lanyard, and Kimmeridge is a red lanyard. And what's going to be slightly different this year is that because we need to be able to identify all of the students in the different year groups very quickly, just to make sure that everybody is in the correct zone, everyone will be allocated a year badge, which you'll be expected to wear on the lapel of your blazer. And for year 9, it will be an orange year badge. So that will form part of your uniform, and you will have to wear it every day along with your house lanyard. We do expect for everyone to try their hardest and learn to the max, and make sure that you follow the Caulfield's way. You'll be hearing lots about that when you come into school on Monday the 7th. And to act as positive role models for each other, again, is something that we would like for you to try to do. So, next steps. First of all, check them out carefully. As I said, I accept that it won't make much sense to some of you at the moment, but rest assured, you will be given that tour when you come in on Monday the 7th by your form tutor. Check your start time. So for you, it is Monday the 7th at 9 o'clock. It's just the morning, so bring a snack and some water with you. Check the correct entrances and form rooms. So Monday the 7th, you come in the main reception, and we will just escort you to the hall, which is literally next door to reception, so you won't get lost. And from there, we will take you to your form rooms. And just make sure that you come in with a really positive attitude. We totally understand that a lot of you might be feeling a little bit worried or anxious about coming up to a big school, but actually we're here to support and help you. There is nothing whatsoever to be worried about. There's lots and lots of people to look after you. And actually those first few hours on that Monday will be a really nice time for you just to get to know a few people, both in your class and in terms of key members of staff. So finally from me, I'd just like to finish by saying we wish you all a lovely summer. Please do ask us if you have any questions. Your parents will be emailed a letter from Mr. Sankey tomorrow. He will also attach the map for you. There will be a student guide that I've written that will be attached to the letter. Hopefully that will answer any questions you have. And the form rooms and the tutors list will also be attached to that letter. So you'll be receiving lots of information via email tomorrow as well. Make sure you have a rest, because I know that a lot of you have been working, in fact, most of you have been working really hard recently. Make sure that you catch up with those people who you love, including probably members of your own family, and stay safe. And we are really, really looking forward to seeing you in September. Take care and see you soon.